Hey, welcome back. Well, isn't this just the damnedest coincidence? Another judicial recount, another razor thin liberal victory, this time in Terrebonne, Quebec, by one vote. One vote, and wouldn't you know it, that little vote just happened to nudge Mark Carney's Liberals within 2 seats of a majority government. The candidate who lost after the post-election validation process suddenly wins after a judge steps in and sifts through the ballots. Why does this magical math always seem to tilt red, huh? Why do recounts, rejected ballots, and judicial oversights only ever benefit one party, it seems? Are we expected to believe this is just the luck of the draw? Martin Belanger, a.k.a. Marty Up North, is a proud Franco-Albertan, father, husband, professional engineer, adventurer, environmentalist, and the unacceptable fact checker. Marty, welcome back to the Richard Syrett Show. How are you?
Good, Richard. Thanks for having me. Quite the intro, right? Like, you said the thinnest of margins. It's statistically impossible. I mean, there was there was nearly 60,000 votes in that riding. And for one side, 20,531 for one side and 20,530 for the other. Like that's statistically impossible.
And am I engaging in hyperbole, or is it? It seems to me nearly every judicial recount in recent memory seems to benefit the Liberal Party. I mean, statistically, how likely is that?
It's completely, like I said, it's statistically improbable. I'll go one step further. I mean, I've been fascinated by the results. I was looking at the results very closely yesterday, and as you pointed out, I'm an engineer, so I avoid forming an opinion. What I start doing first is just looking at the data. So yesterday I was struck by this idea of the rejected ballot. So I just did an analysis. I dumped the data from Elections Canada, and then I sorted all the writings in terms of percentage of rejected ballots, and then I sorted them, from top to bottom, and I was blown away. The top 39 writings in terms of rejected ballots are in Quebec. 39. And I was like, okay, this doesn't make sense. So then I double checked and I plotted the whole data, and Quebec is a absolute statistical anomaly when it comes to rejected ballots. And like you pointed out, they almost always, all those writings favor the Liberals over the Bloc or any other party. I'm at a, I have no explanation. Some people tried to provide a few explanations, but none that satisfied me.
So, at what point do the overseers become scrutinized? I mean, and when do we get to see these, if at all, these so-called disqualified ballots? What is a disqualified ballot? What does that look like? And who gets? I mean, who are these? Who is the judge that gets to decide, or oversee this recount?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. All we know is what a disqualified ballot's supposed to look like. The Elections Canada provides pictures. They provide 8 sort of graphics of what a rejected ballot should look like. Somebody, instead of putting an X or a check in a circle, let's say they put an X over the candidate's name. So they provided 8 pictures. At this point, I'm on Twitter, online where I'm at. Thousands of Canadians want to see those rejected ballots. In Terrebonne, in particular, like there was, don't quote me exactly, I think it was 840 rejected ballots. People want to see all 840. And they're saying even if a judge was looking at all 840 ballots and it was looking at one every minute, it would still take, 4 or 5 hours to look at them. And even that sounds statistically impossible based on how quickly they rendered their judgment.
And what level of oversight or scrutiny is applied to the judges who are appointed to oversee these recounts? I mean, who appoints them? Do we know?
Trudeau or the Liberals. I mean, if it's a provincial or federal judge, it's almost certainly been appointed, someone who's been appointed by the Liberals in the last decade. Yeah, I think we're getting to that point, right? People are, it's unfortunate, Canada used to be a beacon of democracy and we were held up as a model. I mean, if there were elections in I'll call them third world countries, we would send people to supervise their elections. That's how well thought of we were. And Canadians in recent history have seemed to have lost faith in our ability to run a fair and impartial election.
So if a candidate went from losing by 44 to winning by 1. I mean, what exactly changed in the recount? Where did these mysterious 45 plus votes come from?
Those are all questions that, I guess at this point, the only thing that can happen is the candidate who lost needs to launch a lawsuit or or appeal the decision. I mean, I'm with you on that one. To be winning by 44 and to suddenly lose by 1. Not just that, in the recount, there's new ballots that appear. There was 11 additional ballots in the recount that were not in the initial count. So where did those ballots come from? Too many questions at this point, and too critical, right? I mean, we're talking about one riding that might swing based on one vote, and then that riding might swing the whole election and give the Liberals a thinness of majority, but still a majority.
Right. I believe there are a couple of recounts happening in Ontario as we speak. So that would be the magical 2 seats. I mean, can you imagine the skepticism and the mistrust that's, it's there now. But if the Liberals manage to recount their way to a majority government, in other words, 4 more years, the outcry that we're going to hear across this country?
Yeah, this is kind of the worst outcome possible. I mean, I respect our democracy, but I respect it when I have faith in the institutions. I mean, if I lose legitimately, if it was 140 seats to 212, yes, I take the defeat, with respect. But when it's 170 to 172 and it's taken weeks to count and there's all these shenanigans, we expect we no, we don't expect it better. We deserve better, and we're entitled to better. This is not right.
I have family members that have worked elections. I have not, so I understand a little bit about how it works. But are party scrutineers allowed full and equal access during those recounts, or are there, let's say, limitations placed on their ability to challenge or review ballots?
No, they're allowed full access, but the limitation just becomes basic logistics, right? I mean, there's 200,000, let's say there's 60,000 votes being counted. It's broken down by ballot box. So each ballot box holds 700 votes, up to 1,000, let's say. And they're in a rush to count them on election night. So it's happening very, very fast. And the scrutineers are just humans. They're doing their best. um so on election night, is one thing, but in the recount that occurs afterwards, when there's challenges, that's where you want to say, listen, time is not necessarily a problem here. Take your time, count properly, and do it properly. And I'm fearful that they're not doing that at all. So yeah, and do we want to use modern technology? I don't know. I mean, there's got to be something a little bit better than what we're doing right now.
What chain of custody exists for ballots between election night and the judicial recount? I mean, can we be confident ballots weren't tampered with or misplaced?
I mean, generally speaking, I'm going to say the elections are, the process is pretty fair. Are there areas where it can be abused? Yes. That's one point. That's one area. A box can mysteriously disappear. I mean, there's supposed to be tallies for everything, but any industry that relies on tallies, whether it's a bank, whether it's an election, whether it's a casino, like, people can sort of, turn the other way and make an accidental, make a 1 appear like a 7 or a 7 appear like a 1 on a tally sheet, and away you go, right? And that's the thing. If people who run elections year after year, they know where the little places are that can be abused. I mean, I don't want to come out as a full-blown conspiracy theorist saying, the elections are all rigged. I'm just saying there's definitely some areas where it's beyond suspicious, such as Terrebonne. One vote is just too that requires another recount, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. And what is the process for that? I mean, is there an appeals process? Can the block candidate appeal and ask for another review? I mean, it's one vote.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The candidate can. I mean, the candidate can. What generally happens is Actually, that's a great question. What generally happens is, it's not Elections Canada that says there's a winner or the loser. The parties, Election Canada simply counts and then provides the data to the parties, and then one party concedes, says, okay, I lost, which leaves somebody to win. So in this case, there's a recount. There'd be an appeal unless the bloc steps away and says, "I agree with the findings," which I don't think has happened at this point. There's no, but that has been the case in a few ridings lately. There have been a few recounts where people are critical of the losing party for not putting up a better fight, which is another suspect thing, right? I mean, you can have a candidate who is just on the, rather than fight, what do you do to that candidate? You grease a palm here and there, and the candidate doesn't put up a fight. I'm afraid of that kind of stuff too.
Right, right. From the get-go, beginning with the Liberal leadership, there is this sense that Mark Carney was installed as Liberal leader. We had all of those disqualified Liberal memberships suddenly. So many questions. And it's unfortunate because, the actual election itself may have been conducted properly, and we should have faith in it. We must have faith in our electoral process. But it's all been tainted from that moment. And again, if the Liberals manage to recount their way to a majority government, even if it's legitimate, I'm concerned that this is going to seriously undermine our faith in the whole process, maybe for a generation. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, I'm an Albertan, so it's like this whole result has not only undermined our faith in the process, it's undermined our faith in the country. I just want to step back on the Carney leadership race. That was that one was terrible. I mean, same thing. They made the results available. I looked at the results of that one. Carney won every single riding. So even though it was a nation, they still did the same thing. They tabulated votes per riding, even though it was just a leadership race. He won every riding by almost exactly the same margin.
Yeah.
Zero variability whatsoever, which is again, statistically impossible. They're getting into the territory of like, if you're going to cheat, you got to sort of cheat and make it look like, like, don't make it so obvious. Give yourself 89.3% of the vote. Don't be a North Korean dictator and give yourself 98 or 99.9. And that's the other fearful thing, is that they're not even hiding it. They're doing it in front of us in what appears to be cheating, and they're not even hiding it, because I think they're that, it's concerning that they're that confident that there's no consequence to them. I mean, I think they're about to steal this election. It's 170 seats for the Liberals to 173 for the other parties. I think in the next week you're going to see it flip to 172, 71, and then he just wants that legal margin to then walk over to the Governor General's office and say, "Hey, I have a majority, let me rule," and away he goes. And he's going to, well, I mean, who am I fooling? The Liberals have been under a minority government for basically the last 6 years, and still ruling as if they were in a majority. So I don't see how that's going to change.
Right. And if they don't get it by recount and disqualifying ballots, I don't know, maybe they'll convince by hook or by crook, emphasis on the by crook, some NDP MPs to cross the floor. Maybe they'll give them a cabinet position. They'll get their majority one way or the other.
Well, he's already doing it, right? The NDP, who at this point only have 7 seats, you need 12 to be what's called a recognized party in the House of Commons. I don't think they're going to cross the floor. That would be so blatant. But I'm pretty sure what the NDP are asking for at this point is a change in the rule to be still recognized as an official party, which would give them better questions, resources, office space, stuff like that. So there's definitely some negotiations going on.
All right. Well, hook or by crook indeed.
Yeah.
Marty Up North _2, the unacceptable fact checker. Marty, always a pleasure speaking with you. Great job as always. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Richard. Have a good day.
You too. Hey, this is Richard Serrett. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe.